my mind and way out of my league. You were born to be on display, and I'm hard to read. I thought of you, hoping that the ripples would make you notice me. And now you're here, sunlight on the ripples, somehow you noticed me. I don't believe it's all about the things that we share. Marry me when the lights go out. You know I'll be there. I thought of you, hoping that the ripples would make you notice me. And now you're here, sunlight on the ripples, somehow you notice me. Whatever you decide to do, I will keep sending new ripples to you. I thought of you, hoping that the ripples would make you notice me. And now you're here, sunlight on the ripples, somehow you notice me.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rooted in Wellbeing Show. I am so glad you've joined us today. I am your host and your guide, Dr. Ann Kelty. I am a licensed naturopathic physician and a doTERRA wellness advocate. I don't really know how I got here, except that I know I follow my heart, my guides, and my spirit. And over the years, it's led me into various interesting situations. This podcast, I never saw it coming. I was the silent partner. And now I have a lot to say, I guess. It is our hope that you will find this information presented on our programs educational, enlightening, thought-provoking, and fun. Rooted in Wellbeing, the platform is about health, wellness, and spirituality. And in that note, we have Tiana Ironbird with us today. She's with the T's. I'm going to let her explain what that is. But I can tell you it has to do with time, earth, air, and space. And she is the founder of I believe it's the North Carolina division of T's. So Tiana, welcome. Very glad, honored that you are able to come on to our show today. Thank you for your time. And if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about T's, because it's something I don't know a lot about, and a little bit about yourself. And I saw your Facebook post today, and it just hit really well.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here and to share this information. I guess I've been studying, if you will, these star teachings for about 6 years, and the star teachings are essentially the inherent understanding of how the universe works. They are a direction, a science, a technology, a philosophy, an ancient way of attuning yourself to our planet and the universe, to be in flux with the natural order of things. Like, nature already gets it. Nature has already created the wheel. They already are in the loop. And here we are outside of that loop trying to create our own loop. Really quite silly. So I guess it's the realization that we're human beings for a reason, because it really matters how we're being. Kindness is the first teaching, and it is the bridge to one another. Kindness changes the alchemy of people. It changes the alchemy of communities, and it gives hope for the future of the human species, I think. Star Teachings is not the way, but it's a way to navigate this physical inhabitants, if you will.
Right. So, how does kindness work in communities?
Well, kindness is, like I said, the bridge to another. When we're kind to one another, it brings down all of the things to be offended about. It gets rid of, maybe it doesn't get rid of them, but it paves a way, if you will, to be able to bridge a gap between individuals. Sitting down for a cup of tea, time, earth, air, I think that it's very telling that when the culture of indigenous Native Americans that this line of Star Teachings comes from, they sit down and have a cup of tea. My teacher talks about the longhouse, and in their culture, they would come to the longhouse to hear these stories and these Star Teachings, and everybody would sit and have a cup of tea, literally. But the part that I guess maybe we don't realize is that water holds memory, right? So if water holds memory, and we're gathered together in circle, and we're all teachers and students in that place, all looking in one direction. So that information that comes forth in that circle is downloaded into the tea that we're drinking. Literally, it's almost like drinking a cup of kindness.
And it goes into our cells, too.
Exactly. So when we're sitting at tea in a circle, time, earth, air, and space, we're also drinking a cup of tea so that we can unlock the archive within each one of us. We already have this information within. We already know that we're on, but we've forgotten. I think it's part of a side effect of coming to this earth, to this physicality, that we forget who we really are. We forget all of the things we already know to be true. So this is almost a way to tap back into that, and it's become a map, if you will, to help bring the human physical form, the human mind, and the human spirit all together as one, so that it's easier to navigate relationships, which can get pretty tricky.
Well, I like something that you said about sitting in the circle in tea, and the information is, being presented and being downloaded into the tea, into the water, into our bodies.
Yes.
But it's also an opportunity, and I think this is kind of where what you're saying is that as one person speaks, the others are present to listen with all their senses within that space and time. And it also opens up to not trigger per se, but to open up others to remember their part in that whole piece of that tea at that point in time.
Yes, absolutely, in essence, yes. One of the things that I really love about Star Teachings is that there is really no hierarchy. Like, I remember when we were preparing for this this little interview, you were asking me to talk about what all of these things, and I find it interesting because this person, I don't have a college degree, and I've not traveled to do any pilgrimage or to study with any tribe, and I'm not an expert on any subject. And so, when people ask me, like, oh, what's your position with Star Teachings? It's not necessarily about a position. It's about a dedication. I've realized the information is vital. It's potent. It's simple. It's easily shared. The hard part is implementing it into your life and walking in that way. That's where the real work comes in. So that's, I guess, I don't have a title. So there's no hierarchy. We're all teachers and we're all students. We all sit in the circle. Nobody's above, below. Nobody stands at the head to be a teacher or a lecturer. Because we all have vital pieces of the puzzle through life experience and through stories. And this is why Star Teachings have never been written. Everybody asks, oh, do you have the Star Teachings book? Well, the book hasn't been written because this information has been passed down orally through generation after generation for a reason, so that it doesn't get lost in translation, so that the stories about bears and whales and woodpeckers aren't really about bears and woodpeckers. There's so much more woven into it. And if we put those stories and write them down, a lot of the information gets lost in translation.
Mm-hmm. So when you started speaking, the vision I had was, going back thousands of years ago, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have lights, we didn't have a lot of distractions. And so I imagined people sitting around, maybe in the longhouses, listening to the earth, listening to the stars, listening to nature around us, and getting the information from those sources.
Exactly. Well, before we had all of these excellent, technological advances, what did people do? They sat in circle around a fire and they all looked in one direction, right? That's what they did, and they told stories. So that's part of the Star Teachings mission, is to get 7 million people looking in the same direction, and that hopefully will be the tipping point, if you will, to help shift the consciousness and help us to realize that we're all self-governing and we're all responsible for our own self and how we're being, and that kindness is a technology, like a literal technology. I've been studying kindness for 6 years, and I still haven't grasped the full. There's a whole novel behind the word kindness. Let's just say that. And to really study in depth what that technology really looks like, and to be a human being, right, like a little battery, and to go around on this place, on this planet, and to emanate and vibrate and resonate in the technology of kindness. Now our auric field goes out 16 feet in all directions. So if I'm walking down the street and I'm vibrating kindness, can you imagine all of those people that I'm touching?
That's amazing.
Resonating just by looking people in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful expression, if you will.
Well, it's funny because after we spoke, I imagined that the energy goes out 16 feet. And I'm thinking, then I get into my engineering mind, 16 feet, is that on each side? So is that a circle of 32 feet, actually?
Mm-hmm. See that? Now you're going way deep.
Yeah, I guess. So, when I'm in my meditation or, since we spoke, I started thinking about that. I'm like, oh, I'm not just this one person here anymore. I am 16 feet out on either and all sides of me. Right. So that is a huge amount of space that we're occupying, so to speak. And so when I walk into my job, because it keeps me in balance, and I walk down the aisles, and I'm in my spirit world, I'm here physically, but lately people have been looking at me much differently. People are turning their heads to see me, to smile, to say hi, because I think I bring a little bit more joy and peace and kindness into their lives.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I love it when an idea comes together. I have this great story. I got to plug my computer and it looks like it's losing battery, but I'll keep telling this story.
Okay.
Washington State with some star folk, and we were hanging out in a coffee shop, and the coffee shop had a little outside seating area, and we were hanging out there. Okay. We were hanging out in the outside seating area, and we were just two of us, and we were talking star teachings. And, I've learned in star teachings about following the breadcrumbs, and that only you know your life story. So when Spirit shows you something, it's meant for you, because you have a story about a cardinal, or you have a story about a mandala, or whatever your story is. You see something and you know immediately that it's a breadcrumb and it's for you. So as we sat outside, there was this gentleman kind of across the sidewalk in another little chair and table, and he was reading a book, and every time he turned the page, I noticed a mandala at the top. And it cued me in to him being there. So I was finishing up, our conversation kind of came to a lull. So I engaged this gentleman, and I said, hello, what is your name? And he put his book down, and he said, hello, my name is William. And I said, so what are you reading there, William? And he was like, well, he goes into the story about the book he was reading, which really wasn't the breadcrumb that I thought it was. But as we talked back and forth, I realized that we were lighting him up just by talking with him, engaging with him, and it was really interesting. We were telling him about the information that you guys were talking about, and he says, it's really intriguing. So we're discussing this back and forth, and he's really lit up by the information. And all of a sudden, we had been there 30 minutes, and there was no foot traffic. And all of a sudden, when we started to engage, foot traffic like crazy, people back and forth. And as they came into our bubble, if you will, of kindness, people looked at us and they lit up. And I said, hello, what is your name? And this person said, oh, I'm Jimmy. And he walked on and he was smiling, and somebody else came into our bubble. And I said, what is your name? And he says, hello, my name is Ishmael. And I was like, wow, that's an amazing name. There's a book about you. And he keeps going. And this other girl, I see her as she's coming down, and she approaches us and she goes, are you guys doing an experiment? And I was like, what do you mean? I said, well, I guess we kind of are doing an experiment. So she went in and got a cup of coffee. She says, I'm going to join you ladies. So now we have three of us and William in this bubble, as these people are walking by, we're talking to them, we're asking them their names, and they're totally lit up by it. You can't make this up. Like, this really happened. I watched it happen. I watched people walk through our bubble, change their alchemy, walk away with a smile on their face. Now, they took that piece, and who knows who else they lit up as they went on their day. So simple. Asking somebody their name. How many people do we overlook or do we ignore because they're, I don't know, dressed differently, or because we're...
For whatever reason, exactly.
Whatever label we've put on it, we don't want to talk to that person. But what if that person has your message? What if you have a little tidbit of a message for that person? What if they've been praying and praying for the information that you're going to give them? It's really powerful when you start to work it and in a mindful way, and talking to people and engaging them, looking them in the eyes. You know, we're all on our cell phones and we're looking down. Star Teachings tells you, look up, just simply look up and give thanks to the Creator for all of the things that are around you and all of the people that come into your life, and, you know, the idea of being kind, being compassionate, and happiness, the first three teachings, kindness, compassion, and happiness. And it's actually a mathematical formula. Kindness.
A mathematical formula?
Yes. Kindness plus compassion equals happiness. Now think about that. People are looking for happiness outside of themselves their whole life. If I just get this, then I'll be happy. Or if this happens, then I'll be happy. But it comes from within, and it comes from sharing the vibrations of kindness and compassion without having to tell people, you know, and get recognition about how kind you were, without having to, expect anything in return for your kindness.
Tiana,
yeah.
How do we unplug from the frequency received by the masses?
Well, you know, I think that answer might be different for everyone. I'm
thinking part of it has to do with, you know, your experiment, your quote-unquote experiment, because it's helping people to unplug from that frequency that they've been involved in.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, a simple thing that each one of us can do is ask someone their name. So simple. How many times are we in the grocery store, and even though somebody has a name tag on and we can see what their name is, it's a totally different medicine to have that person speak their name to you. Ask people what their name is. Have them speak that's their song. What is your song? You know, the story about the African tribe that when a woman decides that it's time to have a child, she'll go into the woods for 3 days and she'll learn the song of the child. And she comes back and she teaches the song of the child to her husband. And as they conceive that child, they sing the song of the child together. And during gestation, they teach the song of the child to the village. And then, as the woman gives birth, the community gathers around their home and they sing the song of the child as the child is born into the earth. And then during the course of that child's life, whenever they do wrong, whenever they are in a negative space, the community brings that child to the center of the community. They circle around them and they sing them their song. Our name is our song. That's how we get people in touch with or attuned with breaking away from that frequency. That's our song. It's a beautiful thing. We don't call people, ask them. I think it's an important step, but it's so simple. It's so simple.
Asking somebody their name. It is very simple, but we don't, like you said, we overlook that piece. but there, I mean, it makes perfect sense that there is. We hear the vibration of our song, our name.
But to sing your
because
song,
if somebody calls you the wrong name, it doesn't vibrate with you.
Right, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a beautiful understanding, a beautiful expression. Kindness is the first teaching, but it's also the stance. It's also the stance of star teachings. If you're, no matter what, if people have angry words for you, not taking that on and standing in a place of kindness. And then there comes the compassion, knowing that that person is feeling less than, or feeling anger, or, feeling those feelings that we've all felt, and we've all felt like we were less than. So to have compassion in that moment when somebody has some bad words for you, I don't know. Everybody's.
But, I got to go back to your story.
Please.
I mean, that's such an amazing story about that tribe, to give people, the mother getting the song of the child. I mean, people, it's so powerful, to be connecting with the source, that, as women, we've left behind our source.
Right.
Many women want to get over their menstrual cycle, get over their taking things so that they're not having a menstrual cycle. But that's the time that you're in tune with the earth. That's the time when you're in cycle with the earth, the stars' creator. And so I think it's such a sacred place for the women of this tribe or any indigenous tribes who do this work, to get in touch with that child's true essence, and then bringing it into the partnership. And it's just growing. I think it's an Asian tradition that when the child is born, they spend a month together, just the parents and the child, for that bonding.
Right.
And look what this tribe has done, is it's bonded with the child before it's born, but then by the time the child is coming to live on this earth plane, everybody knows its song, and everybody's welcoming it in at its vibration. Mm-hmm. And asking it to be a very sacred, and they're doing a very kind work to bring that sacred body into this time and place.
Absolutely.
So it's amazing. And the partner being involved, too, is, it's very anti-culture. I mean, it's very different than our culture, to see these sorts of things, like sitting in the longhouse is an ancient tradition that we kind of lose with our, all our advances.
Right. Well, we separate ourselves. We keep ourselves separated. And, it's interesting that we call ourselves civilized. I don't know. The right word. I think that, things are different, but I would much rather live in a civilization where people are honored, and everybody is honored for whatever gifts and magic they bring to this world. And I think that's slowly where this whole awakening is a part of, is realizing and understanding and tapping into our own divine knowledge and our own I want to call it power, I want to call it energy, and understanding what the magic, I guess, because I don't know what else to call it. It's interesting, when you talk about spiritual things, trying to put the human language around things that are spirit oriented. It's difficult. Human language is boxy and clunky, and spirit is fluid and has movement to it. So it's hard sometimes, for 6 years in Star Teachings, we've spent a lot of time just trying to create language and verbiage around star teachings and what it is, so that people can find their way here. And it's open to everyone. Everyone is welcome. You can be a Christian, you can be a Buddhist, you can be an atheist, you can be any of those things and still walk in the star teachings. It just helps to create the best version of yourself.
Yes. Tiana, I am so grateful that you are joining me here on this show today. We're going to be heading into a break in about 2 minutes. And I just want to say that the depth that kindness goes is it transcends what we know. It transcends life as we know it. To be kind to somebody, we think it's just holding open a door, but saying their name, will actually rock their boat, literally vibrationally rock their boat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we don't lose anything by lighting up other people. We don't, our light doesn't diminish by lighting other people up. I don't know why we're afraid of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people are afraid, and it's for us as light workers to bring this light back into the world and let it shine brightly. And as we gather together, and the 7 million people you said.
Correct.
That's going to be 7 million bright candles with a 32-foot circle around them.
Woohoo!
We're going to be... take
Let
that
the games
in, William.
begin. That's when the fun starts.
So I ask you, audience, to just think about that. How 7 people, the 32-foot circle of bright energy being kind to one another, how does that affect you? How does that affect your family? How does that affect your environment and how you live in this space you're in? And I want you to join us with a little break. And I do want you to come back because we have a lot more to talk about. I want to hear that story about after you finished your, 7 days? But we'll be right back.
most prized and precious essential oils, frankincense has extraordinary internal and external health benefits. Frankincense is used for soothing and beautifying properties. Frankincense rejuvenates the skin and reduces the appearance of scars and stretch marks. As the king of essential oils, frankincense is known to promote cellular health and immunity and can be consumed daily for these internal benefits. Frankincense also promotes a healthy inflammatory response. When inhaled or diffused, frankincense induces feelings of peace, relaxation, satisfaction, and overall wellness.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed our brief intermission into break. I'm here today with Tiana Ironberg, founder of the Teas in North Carolina. We've been having a wonderful discussion about kindness. The title today, Finding Our Way Through Kindness. Tiana, you were in Canada, I believe, Maine, and you were heading into the airport, and that story you told me when we spoke was just so so truly amazing. Can you share that with us?
So I have a poor network connection, so I missed part of what you said, part of your question. I'm sorry. Could you repeat it?
Oh, yes. I would love for you to share the story of when you left your teacher and were in the airport.
Oh, yes. Beautiful story. So,
yes.
It's so amazing how potent this is. And I keep using that language, potent, but it just cracks me up every time. You know, that voice in our head is there for a reason, right?
Well, and what I love about it is, after, and I love when these opportunities show up in our lives, after we've been on a retreat or at a teaching, like immediately sometimes, or sooner, we get this opportunity to put into place what we've learned.
Yeah, working knowledge. It's beautiful. So I was leaving out of Logan Airport. I had a really, really early flight, so I had to get up like at the butt crack of dawn to get the car returned in time and get through security and do all the things. And so I finally walk up to a little kiosk that you have to put all your information in, and it's telling me that my flight isn't until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, I know I didn't get up early for nothing. So I call the TSA agent over, and I'm asking, and she says, oh, well, that flight was canceled.
Canceled.
And find another flight. Okay.
Oh, no.
So I look over at the line, and it is just a sea of angry people with their arms crossed, and they got my kids call it poop face, where, they got the corners turned down at their, and they're all mad. So I'm like, okay, we got to walk into this sea of angry people. So I just spent 7 days with my teacher, and we were studying kindness, and I was so lit up, and I said, okay, I'm going to use my knowledge. And I stand in the line, and my teacher does this thing sometimes, and it's so funny. I've watched it happen 100 times. And so he stands in line, and he stands in line backwards. And it really kind of freaks people out sometimes because, we're cattle. We're supposed to be going one direction, right? So he turns around and he talks to the person behind him. And I've watched it 100 times. It light people up, and they're taken back by it at first, and then all of a sudden they're BFFs. It's amazing. So I'm standing in line and of the sea of people, and I think, I'm going to turn around and talk to the person behind me. So I turn around, and this woman is standing there with her arms folded, and she's all mad, and I said, so, where are you going to if we ever get out of here? And she says, well, I'm going to pick up my grandchildren and we're going to Disney. And she suddenly was lit up by that story, and she was telling me all about her grandchildren, and they'd never been to Disney before and how special they were and all of the things. And I just let her go on and on and on. And so the conversation kind of lulled for a minute, and there she went right back to the stance, right?
Mm-hmm.
The poop face. And so I'm thinking, okay, she likes to talk about her grandchildren. Let's light her up a little bit more. Knock her out of it, right? So I'm like, so tell me about your grandchildren. How old are they? Blah, blah, blah. She's telling me all about it. Lit up like nobody's business. Glowing, all about the kids. So we finally get up to the counter, and they call me up, and I say, well, why don't you go ahead? And so I let the woman behind me go ahead. And I'm not in a hurry. Sounds like you got some important work to do. You go ahead. So she's all excited. She runs up to the desk, and so I'm next. I like being next. So I go walking up to the lady, and she's looking at me with a deer in the headlights look, like, what do you want? So I said, how are you? And it just melted. All of that frustration and anxiety, I just watched it kind of melt away. And she says, thank you. She said, thank you. Thank you so much for checking in and just seeing how I am, like, and not screaming your demands at me immediately. And she was lit up by it. So she goes into her computer, and she's trying to find me a flight. So God bless her. She finds me a flight, one seat left, getting me to my destination an hour previous to when I originally would have landed.
Amazing.
The last seat in first class. How you doing? Yeah, it was mine. So I go walking away with my ticket, and the woman that I let go ahead of me is still fighting at the counter with the woman. And she says to the lady, what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
To where I need to be from. Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Where were you going? Is that what you said?
Yeah, she said she wanted to know where I was going. Get me on her flight, because wherever she's going, I can get to where I need to be. And the lady said, I'm sorry, she just took the last seat on that flight. So I left the sea of angry people, and I got my reward for lighting people up, and I got to my destination an hour previous to when I originally would have got there.
Oh my God, that's a beautiful story.
It's so simple. So simple. You know, something that you were saying before, like, is reminding me about, and I think what you said was, you know, something about the language that we tell ourselves, or something. And I think that we get caught up in the stories that we tell ourselves, and everybody is their own worst critic. So we're the hardest on ourselves. And, you know, kindness to the self, I think, is something that we put aside a lot. And if your cup isn't full, if you're not filling your own self up with kindness, you can't give from an empty cup. So, you know, the stories that we tell ourselves, and the stories maybe other people have told us about ourselves, and we take those on as our own. And it's simply up to us to change the story. And I think this is a tool. Star teachings are a tool to help start to change the stories that we've been telling ourselves.
Yes, true. And, you know, I was just looking at something you had written. And it says here about listening. Mm-hmm. And I love how you said, you know, we hear it, you know, quite often when people are like, you know, you have one mouth and two ears. You know, when they get angry, they want people to listen. But I think it's in a different context here.
Right.
You know, we have two ears and one mouth and one nose so that we can smell the beauty of the earth around us. Mm-hmm. and two eyes to take in the beauty of what's around us in the world, and watch everybody. I'm kind of going from our smudging prayer, blessing our eyes and our ears, and but we have one mouth and two ears, so let's listen to the world around us and see where we can be kind to people. What are people are telling us all the time what their cues are, what they need, and it's just us to listen and not speak, and that's what going into sacred circles, talking circles and things like that. We have that talking stick or that feather that we pass around, so that the person holding it is the center of that circle, like that child is the center of that community. And it's all about listening to that person right then and there with all of your faculties to hear what's being said, not because they need to get something off their chest necessarily, but it's also for the wisdom that they're sharing. And if we're not totally present with them at that particular moment, we can miss out on that perfect gift that we've been waiting for a lifetime, or that prayer we've been waiting for. So when we're in a circle, when we're with people, we really do want to be totally present with who's ever there, so that if I'm speaking, I can be totally clear with Creator, and what the message is coming in for me, but the message may not be for me, it may be for you. And I just, want to ask people that when you're in presence of lots of people, or even just at a dinner party, put your phone away. Be kind to one another and be present. And I think that's our present, is to be present.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. Present and mindful. I think that's what I was trying to get at with the listening piece of the post I made today is, everybody is kind of a lot of people on autopilot, and we don't realize that we're on autopilot. And yeah, go ahead. So it's just
I was going to get into that dialogue with you, like, hello, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Right. Exactly. All the time. And when people ask me, how are you, I try to change it up a bit. Sometimes I say, I'm well, thank you. I hope you are too. And that way, if their sentiments are really true, then I'm sending them back to them. And but isn't it funny how when we ask people, how are you, and they all say, I'm fine, but are they really fine? And why aren't they telling you if they're not fine? Why, because everybody has their own problems, right? And we don't want to hear it or whatever. My teacher says if we were, instead of putting our names in a hat, down our problems and put our problems in a hat and pick out a problem, likely we would all want our own problem back. And I think that kind of gives perspective as to we never know another person's story.
Exactly. So, kindness being the first lesson, how would people start to cultivate kindness? Maybe in a self-loving way, or extending it out to others?
One of the most vital pieces, I think, about kindness is to not to tell other people about how kind you were that day, because it diffuses the energy. When we're out doing kind acts, to tell, I gave a homeless guy $20 today, like that diffuses the energy. Spirit sees what you're doing. Spirit knows what you're doing. It doesn't make it, it's not going to get you into heaven to go tell your pastor or whatever that you did all these kind things, because Spirit knows already what you're doing. And part of the kindness also is expecting nothing in return. And that's true kindness. When you're expecting something in return, then you're doing business. You're not doing kindness. So there's a lot of pieces to it. And if we were to put as much energy into kindness as we did our favorite football team, can you imagine what this world would be like?
Can you only imagine? Exactly.
I see people, go Big Blue or whatever, or their big red license plates, and they're, supporting their team, and hundreds of thousands of people go to these stadiums to watch these games, and it's all in good fun, but Lord, imagine if we were, all of us, coming to the stadium to celebrate kindness. That would be amazing. That's a party I'd sign up for.
So, Sienna,
party. Yes.
We have been speaking about so many things today on kindness, and it, like you said, you can write a novel on it, and it transcends a lot of thoughts that we had about kindness. So if people want to get more about the STAR teachings, I think you have weekly meetings, or people who come to tea, and how would they find out more information about this, and how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so STAR Teachings has a large presence on Facebook. We also have a newsletter. And a lot of the other information that comes through the Copper Scrolls, which is where these STAR teachings come from, there's a lot of information on other technologies. And they can find that information on Ancient Echoes on Facebook. And the handle is actually, I think it's Distant Ancient Echoes on Facebook. And that's where you'll find a lot more of the technology piece. And also my teacher, David Lombert Sanapas. You can find some podcasts, some interviews, and some conference calls.
Mm-hmm. David
on YouTube. Sanapas.
Lombert Sanapas.
Sanapas, Sanipass.
And how do we find the teas on Facebook?
So the teas are listed on the STAR Teachings page and also in the newsletter. And if you're interested in attending a tea and there is not a tea near you, please reach out, message us, and let us know. And that's what we're doing, is sharing this information and getting teas and STAR Teachings to all the communities. So if you have a real valid interest, then give us a call and we'll find a way to tea to you for sure, because this is part of the mission.
I am so excited that you came on today, and I have to be perfectly honest. I tried listening to some of about a year and a half ago. I was listening to the STAR Teachings with David on the call, and I'll tell you, I get 15 minutes into it and I'm gone. I was totally gone. I must have just, maybe I was tired or I just passed out, and maybe I heard his voice and was somewhere else.
Yeah. Yep. Well, he's a great teacher because he points a direction but doesn't show you what to see in that direction. And a lot of times, sometimes for people, that's hard for them to grasp because, they ask a question and they want an answer. But the answers are within you. So he points a direction and allows you to seek out the information and whatever answer suits you. He was recently at the Parliament of World Religions in Toronto.
In Toronto, Canada. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some of those videos you'll find, but there was one that it just struck me so, I don't know, it just struck me. And part of his message was that, the building that they were in, and in that moment, were holding many, many religious and spiritual leaders. And he said, but it cost me $80 to get in here. This should be free. This information should be free. And then he questioned how many of those spiritual leaders even acknowledged one of those homeless people that were lining the streets outside. And he also added that many of those people that he listened to over that weekend walked right by him on the streets, thinking he was one of those homeless people. And I thought, that information, that story is really important because, again, who are we choosing to spend our time with? Who are we communicating with? The act of kindness. Now, ACT is actually an acronym. It stands for Attitude Controls Time. Now think about that. Our attitude controls what we're doing with our time. So what's your, what's your attitude? What are you going to do with your time? So changing your attitude might help to be more open, if you will, to those that you wouldn't necessarily open up in conversation with.
And this is, I'm sorry, we're just running out of time.
Yeah, I know, it happened so quickly.
It happened so quickly, and that's a great way for end it is, where are we? Where is our kindness? If you don't mind, I'm gonna copy or share that posting that you have. I know we pre-recorded this program today, and I'm gonna post your posting on my Facebook page. And I want to thank Tiana for being here today, and I want to Pat Nick for doing a wonderful quick. I want to guide my angels, creator, all of them. Dr. Van Kelty, doTERRA Essential Oils. It is a network marketing business. This business structure sets me up so that I can create the tools for you or work with the tools for wellness without needing to charge for my time. And you get wisdom. I can direct medical advice on the show, how I can give information on basic health and wellness, and I can provide some general herbal information. Most of my patients have found the most beneficial road to wellness. The purchase of a starter kit, you receive a free wholesale membership of doTERRA Essential Oils. You can also buy a wholesale pricing at that point, which is 25% discount. You receive free time with me with your membership. You'll also receive a free follow-up, which is a $200 value. What this means is that you essentially get 2 free sessions with me and receive a 3-month protocol to get you on your way to health and wellness. These sessions could be online, on the phone, or in person. Private appointments with me start at $200 for 50 minutes. Appointments can include body work, essential oil treatments, or journey work to the ends of deeper healing, as well as advise you on protocols for you to help continue work in between appointments. With the purchase of a starter kit, I will also send you a free gift. I appreciate you, and I thank you for spending time with us today. And I do hope to see you soon, and I do hope you enjoyed our show. Thank you for being here.
I don't know what it means, but there's a smile upon your face, and I see something shimmering in your eyes. And they say if you want to glimpse the future, you need space. And you said you'll put down your morning guns. Would you follow me to wonders? Take my hand and walk beside me in a world of thunder. Fear is an imposter. find it hard to not